Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live this morning, and good to be with you. And we're going to talk about studies that came out. This is an overall study on vitamin D, so we want to talk about it. I think you'll find it fascinating. And I think tomorrow or Wednesday, we're going to do everything breast cancer, okay? Just because there's been some studies that came out on breast cancer, I want to go over them with you. So good morning, Lisa, and good morning, Rosa, and good morning, John from Elgin, Illinois, and Brandy, Nativity. Nick is on with us this morning. Good to have you. Donna, how are you? Okay, so we're going to do vitamin D this morning. Some new studies out on vitamin D. You guys know me. I'm always talking about vitamin D. Get out in that sun. Okay? Sandy, good morning. Anne, from Canada. Well, me too. Shannon, how are you? And Judy, and Jeanette, and good morning, Joanne. And who else is on there? Dawn and Margaret, good morning to you. And so, who doesn't like vitamin D, right? Okay? Who doesn't like vitamin D? Now, this is, I think, very, very fascinating, okay? And it's, if you got vitamin D levels up to a certain level in your blood, okay? So really, look, there's only one way to find out what your vitamin D levels are. You got to get a blood test, okay? And I've been railing about this for a long time, that the government, you know, in Canada, for our American friends, in Canada, we don't pay for anything. We pay for it because we pay taxes, of course. But our healthcare system is universal. They call it a universal system. You know, you don't go to the hospital and pay. You know, we don't have that. But anyway, and you know, I don't want to go over the benefits and the whatever negative that is. I mean, that's, you know, that's politics. I'm not going to get into it, at least not today. But I want to talk to you about the fact that unfortunately, even in 2020, and I'm not saying all doctors, but most doctors do not realize the significance of vitamin D. I mean, I know there's a couple of controversial things that come out, and every once in a while, there's, you know, like, it's not a study, it's just an observation that, oh, you can take too much vitamin D, okay? And that, you know, you could end up in the emergency room. And I often say, okay, I've been in practice 46 years. Me, I've never seen it. I've seen high levels of vitamin D, but with no symptoms. Like even blood work of high levels of vitamin D, but I didn't see any symptoms. And, you know, if someone has high levels, which is very rare, by the way, very rare, you know, it's estimated now 80% of the population have low levels of vitamin D. But here's the conundrum. Here's the problem. With vitamin D, if you're only thinking bones, because if you go back into my medical books, okay, 50 years ago, they talked only about vitamin D in bones. Like, nobody talked about vitamin D in the immune system. Nobody talked about vitamin D, and I'm going to do that this morning because these are new studies that come out. Fortunately, there was a group in the United States, and some of us Canadian guys were involved in it, called the Vitamin D Council, okay? And the Vitamin D Council did a lot of research on vitamin D. And I mean, go back 20, 25 years, they've been doing it. And the problem is, most doctors and the government, they didn't get the memo. They didn't get the memo. So all of this studies for, by and large, have been hidden because nobody's talking about it. Now, in my group of doctors, okay, you know, I see a lot of their research because I belong to that group, and it's always fascinating to me. But I think there's a vested interest, by the way, okay? And I think I want to prove it to you by something I talked about last week or the week before. Last week or the week before, I talked to you about Lancet. You remember that? I talked to you about how they retracted the studies. The Lancet came out and said, okay, don't use hydroxychloroquine. Do you remember that? Because it was the malarial drug that doctors in the United States, I don't know if anybody in Canada was doing it, but for the treatment of COVID, they were using hydroxychloroquine with zinc. But the Lancet, which is the #1 medical journal, came out with a study, and they said they had all the information come in. They put out a study that said hydroxychloroquine and zinc are useless for COVID. It wasn't even, I think it was a week later. And they came out. This was astonishing. I've never seen it. Ever seen this in all my years of practice. Where the Lancet, within a week, had to retract the study. Because I was fascinated by this because some researchers said, well, show us the data that you came to that conclusion. Oh, we want to see it. So they got to the authors of the study and they said, hey, show us the data. Like, I don't know. We're skeptical, but just show us the data to prove what you just wrote in a prestigious, and you said it was peer-reviewed. And a peer-reviewed study is the best studies, right? Because other people look at it and say, well, we're colleagues. We'd like to look at your research. Well, they did. You know what happened? They didn't have the research. And Lancet had to retract. Guys, maybe for you, it doesn't mean much, you know? And the media picked it up a little bit. But it was the most significant thing because they fudged it. They lied through their teeth. And the point is, wow. And I'll tell you why. When you look at the study, or look at the research, and then you look at why would they do such a thing? I mean, come on, guys. Researchers just want to tell you the truth, and they want you to be healthy. I don't doubt that. But here's why. You look at the background of that particular story, and folks, I will line this up with vitamin D in a minute, okay? Now, do you know how much hydroxychloroquine costs per dose? It's a malarial drug. Been used for 30, 40 years. 65 cents a dose. And zinc is very cheap. It's 65 cents. What they showed is that these researchers had ties to another drug they were studying that Dr. Anthony Fauci had promoted even on national television. He wasn't saying take hydroxychloroquine. He was saying don't take it. But he was talking about another drug that costs, listen, $1,000 a dose. 65 cents and $1,000 a dose. And when other researchers called them on it, they had to retract the whole story. It was incredible. I've never seen this in all my years, that a story had to be retracted that they said was peer-reviewed. It wasn't peer-reviewed at all. It was fudged. Because there was no money in it, in hydroxychloroquine. It cost 65 cents a dose. And the pharmaceutical companies hid the data because there's no money in 65 cents a dose. There's money in $1,000 a dose. That was for COVID. But folks, let me tell you something. For the same reasons that I just said, is the reasons that they bury the studies on vitamin D. Vitamin D costs you what? 10 cents a dose? Like 1,000 IUs? I took 4,000 IUs this morning. I mean, what's the cost of that? 10 cents? 15 cents? There's no money. And by the way, pharmaceutical companies cannot patent vitamin D. It's a vitamin. You can't patent it. There's no money in it. And guys, I'm not trying to say that they're corrupt. Okay? They do some good things, the pharmaceuticals. But they'll bury, and I'll tell you, do you know that in Washington, I don't know about Canada, but in Washington, the pharmaceutical companies have 2 lobbyists for every senator and every congressman in the United States. They have 2 paid lobbyists for every senator and every congressman in the United States. You don't think they don't have influence? And this is why you'll see negative studies on vitamin D. You'll see negative, well, they're not even studies. You know what? Be careful with vitamin D, and it's not all that it's cracked up to be. But the voice for vitamin D, I'm a big guy. You know that on vitamin D. I've been consistent. And the best way to get vitamin D is in the sun. That's how God meant it. But you can get vitamin D from a supplement. Now, I want to bring you this morning a study. It's a combination of studies from the Vitamin D Council. Here's what they said. Okay, here's what they said. Okay, so let me read this to you, and I'm going to break this down a little bit to you. If you get your levels of vitamin D, okay, so they're telling you that if you have levels in your blood, this is for my American friends, but I will convert it for you in Canada, okay? So let me just tell you how this is done. So when you get a blood test done, it's called your dehydroxy 25. That's vitamin D, okay? I don't know why they just don't call it vitamin D, but they call it dehydroxy 25, okay? Medicine always has to be complicated, okay? So your dehydroxy 25, your vitamin D level, and nobody wants to do it in Canada. It drives me crazy. You got to pay for it most times. If you want your vitamin D levels, they don't do it. And in Ontario, the government won't pay for it anymore. And doctors won't click it off because all they're thinking is bones. But listen to these studies. Listen, guys. Linda, listen. These studies are incredible. Now, here's what it says. If you, in the United States, if you get your levels to 50 ng-DL, okay? So just think 50. If you get your levels to 50, and in Canada, 50, how do you convert it to NGDL to Canadian numbers? That would, you multiply it by 2.5 times, okay? 2.4 really, okay? But 2.5 times. You are now at 124. So if you have your blood work done, please ask your doctor to get your vitamin D levels done. Very important. A lot of people think, oh, my vitamin D levels are good, and then they find out they're not so good. Now, we can talk about, there's some reasons for that they're not absorbing vitamin D properly and whatever. But listen, vitamin D, when you get to 50 in the United States, 124 in Canada, I like it higher than that. Okay? I like it near the 200 level in Canada, but these studies were done at 124, and in the United States, I like it around 80 to 100, but this is at 50, because most people are much lower than this. Now listen to the 5 things I am going to, and you know what? I'll post this after on our Martin Clinic Facebook private group, okay? Just so you can see these numbers. So, you know, if you don't memorize them, okay? I'll post them up there. How do I do that? Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, never mind, okay? Now, if you get listen to the significant, guys, this, you know, remember what, my blood pressure? I gotta watch because I get so uptight. The Vitamin D Council says, years of studies, if you have 50 in the United States, 124 in Canada, your risk of all cancers goes down by 75%. Think about that. Is there any medication? Is there any vitamin that can claim a 75% reduction in all cancer? But you see, what was the, if you go door to door, I've asked you to do this. You don't have to do it. Of course, I'm just telling you. If you went door to door, if I went door to door in Sudbury, okay, and I took a survey, and I asked them about what causes heart disease, 9 out of 10 would say high cholesterol, okay? If you went door to door and said, the sun, tell me about it. What would they say? What will they say? Oh, the sun gives you cancer. Be careful in the sun. Skin cancer. Ooh, I get so uptight when I hear that. Because people see the sun as a boogeyman. Like they see cholesterol as the boogeyman. The sun is, it's not that they don't like the sun, but they were scared skinny. They were told, don't go in the sun. And put on sunscreen. True or false? It's true, isn't it? And even kids, they lather them up with sunscreen. Babies, they lather them up with sunscreen. Because the sun is dangerous. Not look, guys, please don't come back at me and say, Dr. Martin, you're such a quack. Because I'm not telling you to burn in the sun. I put a hat on too. And I get in the shade when I can. After I get 20, 30 minutes. And, I'm darker now because I was in Florida for quite a while this winter. And, I've been outside a lot. I get a lot of sun, but I don't burn in the sun. But I know I'm getting my vitamin D. And the reduction of 75%. If your blood test shows 50 in the US of dehydroxy and 124, to me that's low still. Okay. My experience, that's still low, but hey, take it. A 75% across the board reduction in all cancers. Here's what I know. The vast majority of people who get skin cancer. This is a fact, guys. This is a fact. The vast majority of people who get the deadly melanoma, which is a deadly skin cancer, are people that work indoors. And that's why it is so much more common today. Melanoma is much more common today, but the powers to be are telling people melanoma, well, there's a big increase because people are more in the sun. No, they're not. People are less in the sun today because the vast majority of people, the vast majority of people are not farmers. The vast majority of people don't work outdoors. The vast majority of people work indoors now, right? That's the vast majority. They don't see the sun, and they're the ones who are susceptible to melanoma. But all cancers, you name it, all cancers. Guys, you've heard me say this, and I will repeat it till the cows come home. You are a human solar panel. Every one of your cells need vitamin D. Your immune system won't work properly without vitamin D. Your brain won't work properly without vitamin D. Your heart won't work properly without vitamin D. Your liver won't work properly without vitamin D. Neither does your gut work properly without vitamin D. You are a human solar panel. Every cancer, your risk goes down when you get your vitamin D levels in your serum blood vitamin D levels. When they're at a certain level, your risk of cancer goes down across the board. And tomorrow, ladies, I'm going to bring to you everything breast cancer. When's breast cancer month? I can't remember. You're going to love this tomorrow, ladies, okay? Really, you will, because there's some new studies out, just incredible. And we'll do everything breast cancer, from the causes to the treatment, prevention. We're going to talk about that, okay? And obviously, I'm going to mention vitamin D tomorrow because I'm going to show you a study specifically on breast cancer and vitamin D. But guys, isn't it incredible that, and I know there's more talk about vitamin D today, but there's no money in it. There's no money in it. Follow the money. There's no money. And so what happens? And, God bless media, but think about it. The pharmaceutical companies, they spend a lot of money on the media. A lot of money. And so the media, they're fed stories about the negativity of, you can just get toxic taking vitamin D. I've never seen a case. People are not, you know why you're in the emergency room today? You got high levels of vitamin D. No, it don't happen. I remember about 2 years ago, whatever, there was a case in Windsor. A big headline. One person in Windsor. Keith, this is for you. One person in Windsor apparently had high levels of vitamin D and they had kidney stones. And it hit the national news like no tomorrow. I wonder how that happened. One case. I can't get over it. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I guess it could happen because vitamin D, by the way, vitamin D is a hormone. We call it a vitamin. It's not a vitamin. It's a hormone. And when you understand it like that, your body knows what to do with that hormone. I'm just telling you. But you don't make vitamin D. You need to get it from the sun or from, Linus Pauling. Have you heard that name before? He won a not a Peace Prize, but in the 1970s, the Nobel Prize in Medicine. You know what he did it for? His levels of vitamin C. Do you know that? Here's what I've said all along. I've said this for about 40 years. I said, by the way, Linus Pauling, I studied under him. Okay? He was a smart dude. Don't get me wrong. And you know what real vitamin C is, by the way, isn't it? It's coffee. I'm going to bring you one study this week on coffee, too. There's a new study out. Oh, it's fantastic. My wife said you only look for positive studies on coffee. Well, she's right. If it's negative, I don't read it. Okay? But you gotta, okay, so vitamin D, and I always said Linus Pauling he only missed by one letter in the alphabet. He was talking about vitamin C, and and look, I'm not against the real, the other vitamin C. I don't say the real one. The real one's coffee. I'm going to prove it to you this week, okay? That actually coffee is better than vitamin C. The other vitamin C. Anyway, I'm on vitamin D this morning. Okay, so listen to this. Just to repeat, all cancers, if you get 50 NGDL or you get to 124, okay, in Canada, if your numbers are 124 or 50 in the United States, if you get to that level, your risk of all cancers are down 75%. The risk of male heart attacks are down 50%. The risk of all male heart attacks are down 50% on those numbers. Cancer, heart disease. Listen to this. The risk of type 2 diabetes, that's adult onset diabetes, goes down by 50% with high levels of, and that isn't that high, by the way, but higher levels on average of what vitamin D should be in your blood. Type 2 diabetes down 50%, male heart attacks down 50%, and type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune diabetes, type 1, is down. If you have levels of 50 in the United States and 124 in Canada, Type 1 diabetes is down by 80%. Type 1 diabetes is down by 80%. Isn't that incredible? It's incredible. So all I'm saying is, guys, all I'm saying is, isn't that significant? Buried in, I got to go look for this stuff. And if I have trouble, not that I have trouble finding it, I know exactly where to go. But the average person is going to have trouble even on the social media today to find this stuff. It's buried. You can't Google it and find this. You can't Google it. Because even Google don't want you to hear this. All I'm saying, guys, is vitamin D. Get out in the sun. Don't burn in the sun, but get out in the sun. And don't use sunscreen. If you're going to use sunscreen, use it after, when you've had enough sun. I'm not big on it, but that's you. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I don't tell people not to use sunscreen. I'm telling you that if you use sunscreen, you're not absorbing vitamin D. I'm sorry. You're not. Don't fool yourself. The sun is still good, by the way. Even for your hormones, it's good, right? You feel better. That's how you make melatonin. Your body makes melatonin, right? Your body makes it when you get in the sun, especially in the morning. That bright sun. And I talked to you a few weeks ago about don't even put sunglasses on if you can for about a half an hour. Let the sun get into your eyeballs. It heals the eyeballs. It actually increases your level of melatonin. You got little solar panels in your eyeballs. Now, some people are hypersensitive to the sun, and I get that. Okay? Doc, I can't go out in the sun without my sunglasses. Well, a lot of times it's because you're so used to wearing sunglasses. I try not to put my sunglasses on for a good 40 minutes or so in the morning. If I'm outside, I don't wear my sunglasses right away. I want to get my eyeballs to get their vitamin D. Why? I want good eyes. Do you know? These are prescription glasses. I started wearing prescription glasses when I was 50 years old. And I only needed them to read and a little bit for distance, okay? And I still wear prescription glasses, okay? But I just renewed my prescription. The optometrist said, Dr. Martin, your eyes are better at 68 than they were at 55. What do you attribute that to? You know, the optometrist, she was really, great because I gave her a nutrition course. She already knew about bilberry and stuff like that. But I talked to her about the importance of vitamin D for the eyes. She said, I never heard that. I never heard that. Vitamin D for the eyes? I said, yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. Vitamin D for the eyeballs. Vitamin D is for everything. And we just looked at some studies this morning. Decrease in, guys, this should be national headlines. This should be, on every newscast, every social media site, everything. But like I told you earlier, the pharmaceutical industry has a vested interest not to give you a 10-cent vitamin per dose or whatever it is. Compared to chemo medication or whatever. Look, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just telling you, they got a vested interest. And it bothers me because people don't hear about this stuff. They don't hear about these studies. And, maybe a few of you found these studies, but I'm telling you guys, well, it's my job, by the way, to bring you this stuff, okay? I'm the news behind the news. I'm the health news behind the health news. Okay. Tomorrow, Lord willing, we're going to do LLM. What's that, Dr. Martin? LLM. I made it up. What's LLM? Ladies' Lives Matter. Tomorrow we're going to do that because we're going to talk about breast cancer. And ladies, I'm just going to tell you ahead of time for tomorrow that it's been a crime, in my opinion. Women have been abused medically, in my opinion. When it comes to breast cancer, they've been abused because nobody's telling the truth out there. So we're going to do LLM tomorrow. Ladies' Lives Matter. I know all lives matter, and Black lives matter, and but ladies' lives matter, and to me, ladies, you've been abused as far as breast cancer goes, in my opinion. Okay, we'll talk about that tomorrow, breast cancer. All things breast cancer tomorrow. Okay, so guys, share this with your friends and family. It helps us to get the word out. And you guys are great, by the way, and I appreciate it very much, you're listening, okay? And God love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.